Really important?
Okay, let me say it then. What he said in effect is, they suggesting the data is there, but he'd made a determination it's unreliable. It's not reliable data.
Let me tell you what I've asked for as a planning board member after I talked to Urban, some of the planning board members, and some of the town board members. Okay? Now, I've not seen this, so I don't know if it exists or not. But I was pretty clear in my set of instructions. Okay? My set of instructions was that when the final comes out, it better respond to 5, 4, and 3. Now, they either do or they don't. All right? Now, until I see that document, Cliff, I don't know if it exists or not.
Well,
or did we not have that conversation?
When you get around to reading it, you will find out that what he said in effect is the data is unreliable. They made the determination.
Okay.
May I just finish, please?
Sure.
Please. I mean, they made a determination that the reason they didn't submit that data is it was unreliable. Now, the thing I can't get over is, again, a question of science. They shouldn't be making the determination. Normally what you would do in this case is you present the data, and then you make a case for it. You'd say, hey, this data it's too variable, or what have you. You discuss it and you present it. If you were submitting this to any kind of a journal, the reviewer wouldn't let you get away with it. And the other thing is the fact that what's remarkable here is they say, in effect, the data is unreliable. So the data at 5 meters a second is trash. It's no good. But at 6 meters a second, it's wonderful data. It's great data. In fact, the data is so good, you've based the entire project. You've taken that data and you've plugged it into your model and you've established, you've done all the setbacks and you've done all the development in terms of your plan. That doesn't make sense at all. It really doesn't make sense at all. And so the other thing is what's unreliable about the data. And I went back and I took a look at this. Fortunately, the firm that did the acoustical stuff for Wolf Island used exactly the same outfit to do the sound, to do the turbine sound level stuff that Acciona did. And this is a company called Windtest. It's a German company. It's been bought out by the folks in the UK. When I took a look at the data from their situation, if it was the same, I would have liked to have had Tim here to ask him about that. But I recall when we did this thing in February, so when we were talking about measuring background sound levels, remember they talked about there was a summer survey done and a winter survey, and they talked about, you had maybe 2 weeks of data, you had 5 or 6 monitoring sites in these cases, so a lot of data was collected. And I remember, Rich, you sat there and said, well, suppose we want some spring data. You were interested in even, increasing that kind of thing and increasing your confidence, and I don't disagree with that. But when I went back and took a look at what they did for the turbine sound power levels, I mean, guess at how much data they did for that, what they did. They took one turbine and measured it for 1 day. That's what came out of that wind test thing for Wolf Island. Now, I don't know if that's the same situation and circumstance for what came out of Acciona's thing, but the idea that data is unreliable, of course it's unreliable. If you've got 1 day's worth of data,
Cliff,
and you should be sensitive to it.
Cliff, I'm going to stop you. If you give us something to read, then we'll read it.
Okay.
Or will not read. I cannot promise somebody else that that's it. However, I will say this, right? I, on behalf of the planning board, and also I talked to Urban and some town board members just to make sure that, ask for some additional clarification, whatever you want to call it. I can't tell you if they put it in the document or not. It's too bad Tim left.
They have. He's told me he has.
Excuse me. I haven't seen the final. I'm not taking anybody's word on anything. Here's the thing. You're going to walk in and you're going to hand us that, and we're going to grade it. Right? And guess what? If there's a story about what goes in and what comes out, we can't do any audience here, but, right? If it's junk and they can't pass the snuff test, they have an issue. I would think you'd be thrilled with that.
Oh, they're fine with this.
No, you're disappointed.
With one turbine data, they're fine with excluding information that should have been in there.
Cliff,
they're fine with all that stuff.
Cliff, you should be happy. If I was in the opposition, I'd be thrilled. I'd be jumping on the table.
Well, it is. I tell you what, if they're allowed to go through with it, yeah, I am pretty happy.
Well, so you're
some along the line, someone's going to listen to it.
Cliff, you've already made a determination that we have all decided how we voted. We haven't even seen the document. You need to back off on that, because we are going to look at the document. I've given them 3 weeks to do it. And all we're saying is, get the document to us, because if it's a piece of junk, it's a piece of junk, and if it's good, it's good. All right? We can't say how we're going to vote. We don't know how we're going to vote. But we need to look at it. It's time to do it. All right? Then if we make a determination that, you know what, we can't make a decision based on this, we turn them down. We don't have a choice. This is not like there's a lot of choices out here. You know.
Okay, I got one final question. I'll let you go. There was concern in here.
I want to stop. Before you do your question, I want to make it clear. Going forward, once we accept the document, not accept, once the document is delivered to us, right, we will not have a public discourse on it till the time when we vote on it. There will not be any discussion of public vote. We're not going to contaminate the process from either side, right? We will go through it, think of it as nothing more than you've all pleaded your case in court, we've got the stuff, we're going to review it, we're the jury, we're going to vote. Hang them, don't hang them, I don't care what. Now give me your question.
Last question. There's concern about the meeting that occurred at the end of this meeting a month ago. And there are some concerns about, questions about whether town business was discussed. And the issue was brought to the town board members who were present at that meeting. And I'd like to ask the question to each one of these board members. Was there town business discussed at that meeting after this meeting was adjourned a month ago?
The answer is no. However, we will never allow 3 board members to be in the same room again.
This is really right. So, Karen, you didn't discuss
I was in there filing my stuff.
Okay, so you didn't discuss
I
that.
No.
Andy?
I was in there looking at the map.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah. Andy and I worked out the maps off and checked.
Okay, so no town business was discussed.
I go in there every time after the meeting and file my
So
stuff.
that-
Actually, however, I'm going to respond back. Okay? I think that there's too much freedom of access in this building to people who are not part of the town. I don't think anybody who's not part of the town should have access to the town computers or the town files.
Of course, that's your personal opinion. That has to.
No, that actually is a Labor Department opinion, because on those computers and files is pertinent information. So if you're not a town official, you shouldn't be an
Well,
IL.
that's the responsibility of the guy back here.
Well, you brought this up here.
Wait, I'm just bringing it up because.
Well, you're bringing it up because you're trying to get an issue going, I
Oh,
think.
no. You know what it is?
Oh,
It's
yes,
done.
yes.
It's done. How about it's done? You said no.
The bottom line is, John Byrne asked us once, couldn't we all go over to Canada and just go over to Wolf Island? If we were to get in 2 cars and no stand underneath the turbines, somebody's going to say we're having a private meeting, because we're going to say, can you hear him? You can't hear him. Again, what happens is if you've got 3 people standing in a room, now you're making it a meeting. How do you avoid that? Right?
You've been on force. You know that you can't sit down with a number of people. You know you can't discuss stuff.
We're not discussing, but we're in the
Okay, so
room.
you say you haven't discussed it. End of story.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, any other thing?
Thank you for your time.
All right, but we're not going to have public comment, discussion on this project going forward.
You said that earlier.
I want to make that real clear. That's, right? It will not happen. Right? Period. Is there anything else before we adjourn?